Hi friends, this is Colby Cajero, the 33-year-old breast cancer patient, and I wanted to go over with you the appointment that I had with my breast surgeon back on November the 16th, 2021. So today is Tuesday, November the 30th, and I have had a couple of weeks now to digest this appointment and everything like that, but I want to kind of at least go back in time and share with you what I was feeling in those moments, and then just all of those things. And then I'll also talk about the next day I got to meet with the plastic surgeon, and he kind of finalized everything for me. And so I just want to share that story with you all. So if you've been watching any of my previous videos, you learned that on Tuesday, November the 9th, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and the first chance that I got to schedule an appointment, or the first chance that I got to be able to meet with the breast surgeon, was on Tuesday, November the 16th, so a week later. All right, so apparently when you have breast cancer, the first person that you go to see is a breast surgeon. At least that's what they told me when they gave me my biopsy results. So I scheduled with the breast surgeon, and in a later video, once I actually fully understand who all is on your care team, I will go over that with you, or at least on my care team. I still don't even fully understand all of that yet. So once I have a better understanding of that, I will make a video that goes over all of that with you guys, but I don't want to give you any wrong information just because I haven't gotten to that point yet. So as of the November the 16th appointment, I met with my breast surgeon. Her name is Dr. Mary Bryan, and she's in Bedford, Texas. And up until that point, once we got the pathology results, my husband and I were Googling crazy, trying to understand everything. I called one of my best friends from dental school, Gina, and she is literally the smartest person I know. Her name's Gina Chen. She's a dental anesthesiologist in Pennsylvania, and she is brilliant. So I called her, and I was just like, Gina, this is what's happening. I don't understand anything. At that point in my journey, even though I'm a decently educated woman, I was so roadblocked with understanding what was going on with my life at that point, because you're told you have breast cancer, man, and WTF do you do with that? For real. Like, everything from the moment that you hear that until you have a plan is just confusing. And I swear my brain was not functioning properly in terms of my diagnosis and understanding all that, and just trying to absorb and understand. So I would read stuff 5 times about my diagnosis and just trying to understand what was going on and treatments and things like that, and it didn't sink in. It didn't make sense. Thank God for Gina. She's the best. So Gina, if you ever watch this, I love you. Thank you. You are a godsend. I love you, love you, love you. So Gina was amazing. She sent me some articles to read that were, let's be real, I'm from Arkansas. I need things broken down a little bit more simplistically than a lot of people. So she sent me some articles that were on my level of comprehension, which I am very grateful for. And then talked to her on the phone, and we just kind of went over everything, okay? So Gina explained to me that in breast cancer situations, surgery is always going to happen at some point. So if you have a diagnosis but you don't know where you're at in that process, just know surgery will happen for you at some point, whether it's before or after chemotherapy or radiation. That will be determined by your your team of doctors, and like I said, but they will tell you sometimes, I remember reading this, sometimes depending on what stage you're at or how large the mass is, they might need to shrink it with radiation first, or they might need to do chemotherapy first, or things like that. So so every person is different, and depending on what your situation is, they might want to do those things before they do surgery. So thank you for that explanation, Gina, because that was super clear. All right. We also talked about the options. So essentially, from, again, my understanding with my conversation with my wonderful friend Gina and just the research I've done online that I've since then been able to comprehend and understand, the surgeries that you can have are either lumpectomy or mastectomy. Lumpectomy, from my understanding, is where they just remove the mass itself and some of the surrounding breast tissue in order to remove the mass. It is what is called breast conserving surgery, and so it's less invasive. Typically, again, from my understanding, radiation always follows lumpectomy to make sure that they kill any cancer cells that just may have been left from the lumpectomy, in case any cancer reached out on a friend next door and wasn't cut out in the surgery. Okay, so that is my plain Jane basic understanding of what a lumpectomy is. The mastectomy is where they remove all of the breast tissue, and a lot of times they will follow this up with reconstruction to replace the breast that is removed. Lumpectomy, from my understanding, the options after that are, like, I was reading about a breast prosthesis that you can get to insert into your bra. If there is a dimple, sometimes there is a little dimple, from my understanding, and everything like that. So again, this was all the information that I learned before meeting with the breast surgeon, and that freaked me the F out. I started having like panic, like whatever the equivalent of a panic attack was, when I started reading about breast prostheses, and I looked at like, what? And then like the special bras that you can get made and all this just stuff that I wasn't ready for, that I wasn't ready to digest. And it was overwhelming. And if you're in that process, just breathe. If you are in that phase where you are trying to figure out which route to take for yourself, take a deep breath and breathe. Focus on God and just ask Him to show you His will for your life and for your care. I promise He will guide you and lead you where He wants you in that arena. Some women don't get a choice. Some women, it has to be mastectomy because maybe they have multiple lumps in the breast and they can't get clean margins otherwise, or the lesion is so big, various things. So there's different things. Like I said, some people won't qualify for the lumpectomy, and I am not an expert to tell you who would or who wouldn't. My breast surgeon informed me that I qualified for the lumpectomy and the mastectomy. So real quick, back to what Gina and I were talking about. I wanted to learn from Gina. Gina, what do I need to ask the breast surgeon? What am I not thinking about? What things do I need to educate myself on? What do I need to ask her in order to make the best decision for myself? And so she helped me. If you remember from any of my previous videos about me doing the research and trying to figure out how to explain to my husband, there was a list of questions from the University of Pennsylvania's website about a generic list of questions to talk to your doctor about. And so I just added to that list, right? Gina helped me come up with several questions that were fantastic, and I'm so grateful that that she was there to help and guide me and just be there for me. So thank you, Gina. So hubby and I went to the breast surgeon appointment. She went over the path report with me, step by step, explaining each of the facets of it to me, kind of like I did with y'all in my last video. But when she got to the end, she said, lumpectomy or mastectomy. So in my situation, definitely offered lumpectomy with the radiation to follow, or the mastectomy with reconstruction. And she said that either way, the sentinel lymph nodes would have to be biopsied to determine the extent of disease and things like that. So either way you go, that is going to happen so that they can properly stage the cancer and determine if it is possible that it could be anywhere else, could have spread to anywhere else in the body. So one of the questions that I get asked as a doctor is, well, what would you recommend if this were your child? What would you recommend if this were your relative or anything like that? And so I always try to think, at least for my patients when I make treatment recommendations, what I would do if that person were my relative, I don't have a child, so like my nephew or my niece, something like that. So I asked the question to Dr. Brian, if I were your daughter, 33 years old, no kids, what would you do? What would you recommend for me? And without even blinking, this lady said, double mastectomy with breast reconstruction. And I almost fell out of the chair. And so at that point, I was just stunned, because when I walked into that appointment, I was certain I was going to get the lumpectomy. I was going to go for the lumpectomy, and that was going to be the end of it, because why not be more conservative, right? I don't have kids, so, there's breastfeeding and things like that you have to consider as you get older, or if you want to have children and all of those things, right? So I thought for sure that I would do the lumpectomy. And when she said that, once I caught my breath after that, the next statement out of my mouth is, and why is that? And she just so lovingly said, because you're not supposed to be here. You're 33 years old. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here for another 20 to 30 years, if that. You are so young, and I don't ever want to see you again, was basically what she was saying to me. I don't think that those were her exact words, but that is, in a nutshell, what she was saying to me. And so, to be honest, after that portion of the conversation, I truly don't remember much else. I remember her saying something blah about some possible chemo, but we would decide that later, and something blah about tamoxifen and some other it was all just gibberish at that point. And I am grateful that my husband was listening, and he was there to take notes as well and to try to absorb what she was saying, because at that point I was just stunned. So I go home that night with hubby, and we talk about the options. We talk about lumpectomy, mastectomy. I called Gina again, and Gina, said, well, Colby, let's get a second opinion. If it doesn't make you feel comfortable, let's get a second opinion. And so I was like, you know what, you're right. So I the next day I called the other doctor that was recommended to try to get an appointment, left a message, and then, and this is how God works, guys. Like, this is how beautiful God is. The next day, so that following Wednesday, November the 17th, I somehow had a 2-hour gap in my patient schedule. My lunch and then the hour before just so happened to not have any patients scheduled. So I get a call at about 10 o'clock that morning from the plastic surgeon's office, and they say, well, hey, we got a referral from Dr. Bryan. She wants to meet with you, or wants you to meet with our plastic surgeon so that we can discuss your treatment options. Great. When are you available? Blah, 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 blah. Well, they had an availability at noon, and I took it. That's how beautiful God is. So I go to this appointment, and I talked to the plastic surgeon. Wonderful man. His name is Dr. Jonathan Heistein. He is in South Lake. He also has an office, I think, in Fort Worth as well. But I went to his South Lake location because they were not seeing patients in the Fort Worth location that day. And the earliest they could get me in there was the following Monday. So, and at this time, I did not have a surgery date or anything, right? So this was all just information gathering and just learning at this point. So I go to him, and he does his exam, and then he starts talking about lumpectomy, mastectomy. And I asked him, I said, if I were to do lumpectomy, what would that look like? And he explained how radiation shrinks all of the skin and the muscle and the fat and just all the tissues in the breast area. So not just the breast tissue, but like it alters all of the tissues, not just like not just the breast tissue, but all the tissues, right? Which made sense to me intellectually. So he explained that, and I said, so after his exam, he quizzed me. He said, do you feel like your breasts are even, or do you feel like one is slightly bigger than the other? And I said, I'm pretty sure one's bigger than the other, but I can never remember which one it is. And he said, that's correct. There's always one breast that's a little bit bigger than the other. Great. So he does his exam. My right breast, where my mass is slightly smaller than my left breast. So he was explaining that if I did the lumpectomy, that I would have a smaller breast than I currently do. And after all of the tissues are shrank by the radiation, then it would be much noticeably smaller. He also said that because my breasts are smaller to begin with, a large portion of my breast would have to be removed. Even though it is a small mass, they still have to take surrounding breast tissue with it when they do the lumpectomy. So the picture that I had in my head, and these were not his words, but the picture that I had painted in my head by what he was saying was essentially half of my breast would be gone after this lumpectomy. And so I would definitively be lopsided. And then I asked him, I said, well, what about, future breast augmentation down the road? He said, you could absolutely do that, but it will never look the same. I cannot match the breast tissues after radiation. He said, you can do that, but it's never gonna match. It's never gonna be that symmetrical. And so, again, I asked him the exact same question that I asked Dr. Bryan, which was, if I were your daughter, 33 years old, what would you do? And he said, no questions asked, I would do the double mastectomy with breast reconstruction. And so in my heart, I believe that God sent him for me as the second opinion, because to this day, I still haven't got a phone call from either of, I ended up calling 2 other breast surgeons to get scheduled. And to this day, I still haven't gotten a phone call back to even meet with their breast surgeons. So to me, that is a sign from God that says, there was your first opinion, there was your second opinion, and both of them are saying the exact same thing. So for me, that meant that, Colby, God is telling you that you need to get a double mastectomy with breast reconstruction. And so that night, that afternoon, I called my cousin Stephanie. My cousin Stephanie works for Galderma, and she is, again, I've talked about her in previous videos, just a beautiful, beautiful human being, and I adore her and just look up to her in so many ways. She actually works with a ton of plastic surgeons and dermatologists, and she knows Dr. Heistine, and she says, Colby, he's fantastic. And so again, that was just, look at God, look at God, look at God. He is confirming that this is, number one, the right doctors for you, and this is the right plan. And so talking about it more and more, I got more comfortable with it. Today is the day before my surgery. Tomorrow morning, I will be reporting to the hospital to get my double mastectomy with breast reconstruction. And so today, I have finally accepted my reality. Everything that was going on in those moments, with immediately following digesting the pill from Dr. Heistine, beautiful man. I'm so excited that he's on my team, and he reaffirmed that Dr. Brian is a fantastic surgeon as well. So I am super confident in both of my surgeons, and I'm so grateful that God led me to them. And to be honest, I truly do feel like, in another way that God is working in my life, is that when my husband and I, so we used to live in East Dallas, and our lease was up at the end of September, and so we knew we had to move in October. Well, I don't know if it's just because of the market right now, I don't know what the situation, but we literally could not find anywhere to live but randomly in Bedford, Texas. And that just so happens to be where Dr. Brian practices. And so and there's so many other things that I know that God is moving in, and I've seen it through this incident alone, this whole journey right here, just in these short weeks alone. I look back at things and I'm just like, that was God getting me ready for this. That was God, that was God, that was God. And I could probably just make a whole nother video on that altogether, but I won't go into that now. But I can tell you that I know that this is my team. I'm confident in them, and I know that God has this, and I know that this is what he wants for me. Don't know why. No idea why. But I do remember feeling after these doctor's visits, just again shocked, especially after my first appointment with Dr. Brian. Oh, and I totally forgot to mention that as soon as we left Dr. Brian's office, my husband and I rolled over to the fertility doctor's office, because Dr. Brian did mention fertility and genetics and things like that. And that was probably what was mentioned after I just zoned out, and I'm just now remembering those things. So apologize for the jump in storyline there, but went to the fertility doctor. It was like literally 4:45 or 4:55 or something like that. And so they were like, oh, well, just go to our website, fill out a new patient consult form, blah, 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 blah. We'll reach out to you, da, da, da. So we did that. And then the next, so this was a Wednesday, this was a Tuesday. And then they contacted me the next day. We got scheduled for a Zoom call with the doctor on Friday. So we met with her via Zoom on the following Friday and just got the ball rolling on the fertility stuff there. And such a wonderful woman, Dr. Anna Nakali, and she is fantastic. I am loving her so far, and I'm so incredibly grateful for her. She even offered, at the end of that appointment, she offered to meet me the following Tuesday, so the Tuesday before Thanksgiving at that point, to come in on her day off to do an exam and get my tests going and everything like that, just to get the ball rolling for me. And I just thought that that was just above and beyond just greatness for a doctor, and so incredibly grateful for her. So a lot of the emotions that I was dealing with was, number one, the minute that Dr. Brian explained that I was going to need fertility preservation because of the possible chemo and the possible hormone therapy or anti-hormone therapy and things like that. She said, you're going to want to look at preserving your eggs or embryos or something if you guys want to start a family. And so, again, I had known that was on my list of questions to ask, but just hearing it confirmed was a kick to the gut. And I remember walking out of that appointment, and even a few days later, just feeling violated. I felt like I had been, like that something had penetrated my body, i.e. cancer, and took over and took away things from me that I did not consent to, that I was pissed off about, that just upset me to no end. Again, I've mentioned this in a previous video that I wasn't sure. And in that moment, I don't know that I want children. My husband wants children. I am not sure that I will want to have children of my own. I think that God did make me to be a foster parent one day and possibly to adopt. I am not sure that he made me to have children of my own, and this could be his way of pointing that out. But modern medicine has preserved us the ability to do that should we choose to when the time comes, and I'm so incredibly grateful for that. But in that moment of finding out all of this information, I was pissed off, because how dare this disease, this cancer, come in and just take away an option for me? How just how dare it? How dare it? I did not give permission for you to be in my body, for you to take over, for you to alter my entire life. I didn't. And then breasts, for lack of a better term, are appendages that I have grown up with. You know, they have been with me through thick and thin, and they've been there my whole life. And to have somebody tell me that I have to have them removed and reconstructed and rebuilt, I feel like a freaking car. like what the fuck? And so that was really, really hard. And obviously it's still hard, and tomorrow is the surgery. But it's okay. It is okay. I have told myself, and I truly believe in my heart, that it is okay to feel all of these things. This is the body. You know, God gives you one body in this lifetime to take care of that is yours, that nobody else can take away from you. Nothing about your body is anyone else's unless you give it to them. Until cancer. And now cancer is part of your body. And pardon my language, but fuck you, cancer, okay? You can suck it, because I'm not having it. Like, I'm gonna get you out of my body, and then I'm gonna fight like hell, and I'm gonna take my body back, because you are not welcome in my body. So I have, again, felt a lot of things, and it is very emotional, and it is so exhausting. And I know, so from that first appointment with Dr. Brian, so many different appointments happened after that. Genetic specialist, plastic surgeon, fertility testing, and then, you know, you're calling the hospital and everything like that. And so it's just a whirlwind of doctor's appointments and what is happening next. And my husband, bless his heart, had to bring me in on reality, because I'm sitting here worried about my patients and taking care of them and having to reschedule all of my patients so that, you know, I'm worried about not rescheduling them. Like, but here's the thing, all of us doctors, we all work at the same time. So I don't have a choice but to reschedule patients. So if any of my patients are watching this and you've had to be rescheduled, thank you for being understanding. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. And my husband told me, he said, Colby, if you're not here a year from now to take care of your patients, what's it worth? Homeboy was right. So we had to reschedule some patients so that I could see these doctors and get all of this taken care of. Luckily, the holiday was coming, and, you know, I had already requested some time off anyway, so it just all worked out beautifully. Those, like I said, that week after meeting with the breast surgeon, it just boom, 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 boom. You feel like you can't catch your breath with all these doctor's appointments, with all these things coming up. But just breathe, just keep praying. And in the words of Dory, just keep swimming, because you will get through it. It will all come together. Again, tomorrow is my surgery, so I will be making videos for surgery day and my recovery, and I'll just keep you guys posted. I want to share with you the dental fun fact of, according to the World Health Organization, dental caries, i.e. cavities, is the most infectious transmissible disease. So I'll repeat that. Cavities, the bacteria that form cavities, is the most infectious transmissible disease, meaning you go kiss somebody else, they've got your bacteria now. You lick the spoon of somebody else that has a cavity in their mouth, you can get that bacteria in your mouth now, and that bacteria can start to cause cavities. So again, if it's been longer than 6 months since your last dental exam, please go ahead and get it scheduled. Especially if you have to do chemo or radiation or anything like that with your care, make sure that you get that scheduled. If you have teeth, please brush for 2 minutes twice a day and floss for once a day. If you're a braces patient, please brush for 4 minutes twice a day and floss at least once a day. The scripture that I am going to read from today to help us digest this message and to digest the overwhelming information that is going to come when you go through this as well is going to be Romans 8:28, that says, "We know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and who are called according to his purposes for them." And so to me, that means that God's going to bring good out of this. I don't know what his plan is. I don't understand anything right now regarding this whole diagnosis and the new trajectory of my life, but I do trust him. And it says that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love him. And I do love him, and that means that God is promising me that good is going to come of this. So I'm choosing to trust God, and I'm going to just let that rest with him. So thank you for listening. I hope that if you are in this journey and if you are at this stage, that you are finding comfort in the words of God, and that hopefully this video has been helpful. And I pray for each and every one of you out there that is going to go through this, and that God will just guide you and be there for you and wrap his loving arms around you. And know that I'm here for you too. If you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. I'm always available. And thank you so much.